Hey, this is Kristen,
And this is Ashley.
and this is 1,000 Miles of True Crime.
So, Kristen, I know that you are going to be covering a couple cases today, right? Some sort of hot topic cases.
Yeah, like hot topic is I guess that is one way of phrasing it, right?
I'm phrasing it. I think that you're going to be covering some stuff that can be considered very controversial, but I think it's really important to us. It's really important to you, and the world's just a scary place. Please, Kristen, take us down some of these really current cases going on right now.
So I'm gonna be covering the cases of Ralph Yarl and Kaylin Gillis. So I don't know if you guys are watching the news or seeing what's happening, but one case is very racially charged, the other is kind of like gun laws. Like, what is going on? People are crazy. Like you just said, it's a lot of crazy stuff going on in the world. And both of these cases have recently made national news. Both incidents will make you question what the hell is wrong with people. Like people are really crazy and have lost their damn minds, it seems. So I'm gonna fill you in. If you haven't heard of these two separate incidents where like almost accidental incidents led to one person actually losing their life and the other almost losing their life. So I'm going to start with Ralph Yarl. Now, Ralph is a 16-year-old Black child, a junior in high school from Kansas City, Missouri. This is a very musically talented kid, super smart, just whole life ahead of him. Like how you think of a 16-year-old child. Well, on April 13th, just before 10 p.m., his mom asked him to like go pick up his brothers from a friend's house. He's got two twin brothers that are 11 years old. And so, like anything, your mom asks you to do something and you do it. She gives him an address of where he's to go and pick up his brothers. And he's supposed to be picking them up at East 115th Terrace. Well, East 115th Terrace is like a block away or zero point 0.3 miles away from East 115th Street. So Ralph goes and heads to go get his brothers, and he proceeds to get out of the car, walk up to the door, and ring the doorbell. Like, I'm here to pick up my brothers. I'm not going in. They're gonna come right out. Well, instead, he is met by Andrew Lester. And Andrew Lester is an 85-year-old white man. Andrew, before Ralph decided to ring his doorbell, was not expecting any visitors. He has supposedly has a wireless surveillance system set up in his house. And he decided when his doorbell rang just before 10 p.m. that he was going to bring his Smith and Wesson 32 caliber revolver with him to go see who was ringing his doorbell. He thought that that was a good idea. Why, I don't know. And so Ralph is on one side of the door and Andrew's on the other side of the door. Andrew doesn't even ask, who is it that's ringing the doorbell? Instead, he opens his front door and he's got a storm door, like one of those glass doors that you open before you open your front door. And he decides to shoot through the storm door. Hmm. He shoots through the storm door. Glass shatters and he shoots Ralph Yarl, a 16-year-old child, in the head. Hmm. So my immediate reaction, like when I heard about this case, is I'm thinking like Ralph is going to a home that he thinks that his brothers are in, and now he's met with being shot in the head. Like, is he wondering like, are my brothers safe? Like, are they like okay? Like, I'm just thinking in my own mind, what could he have possibly been thinking at this time?
He wasn't like confronting him, right? Like, did I miss a whole part of the story? Like, I'm trying to like recap here, but like, no, he just shot him. He didn't even. No questions. No, what are you doing here? No, get off my porch kind of thing. Nothing. Okay. Didn't miss
Sh-
it.
just shot through the door, and shoots this 16-year-old boy. And as Ralph is now shot in the head on the ground, Andrew decides to come outside and shoot him again. So he's on the ground and he shoots him in his arm, in his upper arm. And then Ralph proceeds to stammer away somehow. I don't know how, but he stammers away. And as he's stammering away, Andrew Lester says, "Don't come back around here." Oh. Mhm, mhm. I don't understand it. I don't understand it. Like, it's the most terrifying visualization I could possibly think of. But I'm gonna move on. Ralph, like I said, runs away and he goes to not one house, because the first house that he went to, no one helps him. He runs to another house. Again, no one is helping him. Now, it's not super late, and like this is a quiet neighborhood. And he's screaming though. Like he's like, "Help me, help me, help me. I've been shot." Well, I guess James Lynch was a neighbor to Andrew Lester and he heard Ralph screaming. And so he ran out and helped him. But by that point that he got to him, he was like almost unconscious. So he's trying to prevent him from dying, basically. Checking his pulse and stuff like that, asking his name, asking does he know who shot him. Ralph is taken to the hospital and Andrew just goes back into his house like everything is fine. Like he didn't just shoot someone and, like this is just a regular old day. Like everything is fine. So
And if it's
here,
purely self-defense, wouldn't you be on the phone with 911? Like, wouldn't you be worried it's gonna come back or that there's somebody else out there with him or all of these things? Like, that was just, you just threatened him. Like, you weren't concerned for your safety at all.
I mean, what is infuriating to me is, and I'll get to like Andrew's, I guess, fear. His response to like once he was interrogated and stuff was that he thought that Ralph was trying to break into his house.
That's,
But
yeah, totally reasonable. Usually you knock on the door when you're about to break in.
yeah. And I mean, granted, if you are not expecting any visitors, no one's at home with you, and your doorbell rings at that time, you don't have to answer the door. And if you have this surveillance system that allegedly doesn't work, you know, you can see who's there. You can see who's ringing your doorbell. In this day and age, you could probably even converse with them like a ring doorbell or whatever. Like, what do you need? But the fact that he just immediately thought to grab his gun. Did he already know who was on the other side of his door? And like that was just like his head. I'm just thinking hypothetically.
I don't want to defend this guy at all. But even if we're saying like this is like fragile little 85-year-old man, like then wouldn't your first thought to even be to almost like threaten with the gun? You'd still like threaten with the gun first, right? I feel like that was intent. Like he was not looking to like, you don't shoot someone in the head, right? Like if you if you're just
Well,
trying to scare him away
e-
a little.
even if you are scared, even if you are scared, why are you scared? Why are you scared of a black person, a black man, child ringing
Child.
your doorbell? Yeah, child ringing your doorbell. That's all he did. That's all he did. He didn't say anything to him. He just rang his doorbell because he thought he was at the right house. And so, what's so infuriating to me is that they will vilify and demonize black boys. And it breaks my heart, obviously, because I have boys. But just, I don't understand what is creating the fear. Why are you afraid? Why are you afraid? Because if anything, everyone else should be afraid of people like Andrew Lester, in my opinion. Andrew tells police that his version of what happened is that he really just thought that Ralph was trying to open his door when he had come to the door with the gun. And that, you know, we'll never know if that is actually true. But even if he did, it does not justify him shooting through the glass door and shooting at him twice. I don't.
And he walked out. Like, I just, like, I really don't buy in the whole, like, I was so afraid for my life. Like, your first thought would be, like, someone else could be out there. Like, I need to get the cops here. Like, his actions do not correlate at all with what he's saying.
They don't. They don't. The intent, I feel like, is just there. He came to the door with a weapon. Um, Quiet neighborhood. You don't expect someone's trying to break into your house and like ring the doorbell to announce that they're coming. Like, no. Um, I just I don't understand it. If you're that scared, call the police or don't
Yeah,
open the door or,
right.
but he decided to do what he wanted to do and Ralph almost died. The even more messed up part about all of this is that Andrew Lester was arrested, right, for shooting Ralph, but after 24 hours, he was released.
What?
I don't un
After 24 hours? How did he get released? Tell me. Tell me.
Apparently, they had nothing to hold him on. How that is, I don't know. Like, I feel like I've seen them hold people that have committed nonviolent offenses longer than that or found some reason to hold them longer than that. But the police apparently went to Andrew's house. They checked to see where his gun was. They checked to see if his surveillance cameras had any footage of like what happened and the police are the ones that said it wasn't working. But I mean, I feel like that's kind of convenient too. I don't know if his age played a factor, him being 84 years old. Like, I just don't understand how they could have released him that quickly. I don't.
I wonder, and I'm sure age probably had something to do with it. I'm sure we're gonna find out later, right, that he has like some health related issues, but like or something along those lines. But like I just like love how much the cop gonna be like, all we have is a confession and the weapon. Like,
I,
he's not on bail or something though, right? That's what you're telling. They're like
n-
still proceeding. No, I'm just totally missing it. There's no charges on him.
there's no charges. There's no charges.
Okay, I thought he was, like, getting out on bail, and they were like, "Yo, we don't wanna pay for all this guy's medical and stuff like that." Like, I did not what?
Nope.
I keep
Nope.
assuming I'm missing parts of the story today.
Mm-mm. So this happened on the 13th in the evening. Andrew was released from police custody on April 14th. And like I said, released with no charges. And I really too want this to resonate with our listeners about if this was one of your loved ones, if Ralph was your child or your brother or your nephew, how would that make you feel? They have to take into consideration how that is making Ralph feel, Ralph's loved ones feel that they know this man shot him. There's no question there. He's admitted to shooting him and they just let him go. So I think it's ridiculous. The other thing that makes me mad is Missouri is a stand your ground state. So I don't know uh, if that is going to create like a loophole for him to kind of potentially get away with this and not like face any charges.
I thought they had to, like, be in your house. Am I wrong about that? Are we gonna
So
argue that the porch is in your house now?
there's a threshold, but it's still a way to find a loophole. They can, you know what I'm saying? They can work it any way that they want.
Yeah.
Really, they really can. If our listeners aren't familiar with the Stand Your Ground law, this was passed in 2016, and it basically states that people may use deadly force when they reasonably believe it to be necessary to defend against some type of violent crime. Ralph had no weapons. He was no threat. He rang the freaking doorbell. So there there's no way that we're going to change the narrative to make Andrew Lester the victim because he certainly is not. He came to the door weaponized. He shot through his door and then he went outside and shot him again. And then icing on the cake, he said, "Don't come around here. Don't come back around here."
Then he, like,
Um,
goes back in and watches Jeopardy, like, this is insane.
uh It took actual media outcry and protest for police to even like follow through with doing anything else and arresting Andrew
What, the
after.
24-hour lockup? That's what
I mean, but we see this all the time. Like we see this all the time. George Zimmerman and Trayvon Martin, like this isn't something new. We know that if the roles were reversed and if Andrew Lester were black and Ralph Y'all were white, come on. He would be under the jail. So I don't find that it's fair. I don't find that it's equal. And these situations makes me really mad. I've taken gun safety classes. Like the whole point of having a gun is to not like go to your front door and open the door and shoot through. Like that's not the purpose of it. It's not. Like it's not. They say the gun safety class that I took, they said at all costs, try not to utilize your gun. Like, try not to utilize your gun unless you feel you are in imminent danger. And, what danger were you in by going down to your front door and opening it? You had a glass shield in front of you. So this case is 100% racially motivated. The Clay County prosecutor, Zachary Thomas, said it himself that, there's definitely a racial component to this case. It breaks my heart that there's just so much hate for Black people. I will add that Ralph survived this incident, but I can't imagine how drastically changed his life is going to be, his future. Like, how is this going to impact him? He's going to have some post traumatic stress disorder. He's basically got a brain injury from being shot in the head and them having to like pick out bullet fragments from his head. So, as Ralph is recovering from his injury, where is Andrew? Well, Andrew turned himself in on Tuesday, April 18th, but again, he's out on bond. He's being charged with assault in the first degree and armed criminal action. I'm really curious to see how all this will play out. Um, and what scares me even more is that I feel like incidents like this where Andrew can say, I was afraid. I felt like this person was breaking into my house. This was really just a mistake of someone going to the wrong house. I feel like it's gonna make the opportunity for more things like this to continue to happen. And people just use the excuse of, well, I was afraid. I was afraid, so I just killed this Black person. We can't let that be the reason why people are getting away with things like this. So I am going to continue to follow this case to see what happens and see what the outcome is. And I really hope that Ralph Yarl receives justice as he deserves. Um, because this should not have happened. Like this is like wrong place, wrong time, but like this was literally a mistake of a person going to the wrong house and someone thinking it was okay that they could just kill them or try and kill them.
Yeah, it's terrifying, and I mean, I don't know the extent of his actual injuries, but I have this strong feeling that we're gonna find out that there's a lot of lifelong damage, you know, physically, psychologically, everything from, getting shot in the head. So, I think, unfortunately, no matter what, like, thank God he's alive, but, his life is definitely gonna, unfortunately, be on a different path now, I'm
Yeah,
sure.
it is. It is. It's heartbreaking and it's sad. Um, if that wasn't unsettling enough, on Saturday, April 15th at around 10 p.m., another unfortunate event occurred. This time in Hebron, New York, which is a small rural town in upstate New York. Kaylin Gillis was a 20-year-old from Schuylerville, New York. Young, just like Ralph, life just beginning, hoping to go to college in Florida. She was like a Disney fanatic. Um, and she wanted to be a marine biologist. Kaylin and some friends were actually on their way to a friend's house in rural Hebron. So think dirt roads, winding roads, tall trees, like very, very rural area. Kaylin was actually a passenger in one of the two vehicles that were with her group. And then I think there was another person on a motorcycle. So they're, trying to get to their friend's house. I guess they had not been there before. And it's easy to get turned around in this part of Hebron. So they end up pulling into the driveway of Kevin Monahan. Kevin's a 65-year-old white man. Kevin alleges that Kaylin and her friends were speeding up his driveway. They were revving their engines and they were flashing their lights. And this is like a long, winding driveway up to his house. It's dark. Like they're probably just trying to get up to the road to see if this is the house that they're at. Well, Kevin decides that he's going to get his gun. These people hadn't even made it all the way up to his driveway, all the way up to his house, actually. They realized once they got a little bit further up that they were at the wrong house. So they started to turn around. They're literally leaving this man's property. Kevin decides he's going to shoot at them as they're driving away. He ends up, one of the bullets that he shot shoots Kaylin Gillis, and the people in the car, like her friends, are like freaking out. They're like, what the hell just happened? Like, why did this crazy guy just come out of the house and shoot at us? Like they didn't even see him. They didn't see him. He didn't see them. This is just, he's on his porch. They're like, I don't know how far away, but like they're leaving. So this area is so rural. They have no cell service. So they have to like try and get to somewhere where there's cell service so that they can call 911 to get Kaylin the assistance that she needs because she's bleeding out. She's been shot. And they get to somewhere where they have cell service. The ambulance arrives and they pronounce Kaylin dead at the scene. They've had zero interaction with this person.
They're so senseless. Like, what was the point of them? How do you? I had a. Okay, keep going. It's like, tell me you could explain this to me.
Like, this is what I'm talking about. This is why I think something is broken in our world for an 84-year-old man to shoot through his door and for a 65-year-old man to just shoot at people that pulled into his driveway.
Like, you gotta be pretty confident you're gonna get away with that, to just be shooting away at people that are in your driveway.
Have you ever gone to the wrong house or pulled into the wrong driveway before and like been like, oh man, this isn't where I actually am supposed to be?
Absolutely, especially in like rural areas where you can't always see the house, or like all the driveways kind of look the same. And then, like, cause some of them, I mean, do you know how far this driveway was?
It's a pretty long driveway.
Cause like my aunt she lived in like a really rural area, when I was a lot younger. And it was like, maybe I'm now exaggerating it, but the driveway was like a mile long. Like you could not see the house from the road. So like people would think it was a road all the time and then be like, oh crap, and have to like turn around. So like it even happens in rural areas. So for this guy to be like, this has never ever happened to me, I felt like I had to shoot at him even though they were driving away. What?
What's even crazier is that Kevin, the shooter's neighbors, they heard the shots, so they called 911, and even the police got lost. Like that's how rural this area is, and like that's my point too. It's like it was a mistake. Why would you think it's okay to just these kids are driving up my driveway and I'm gonna show them and shoot at them?
It's not acceptable either way. But like just like shoot up or something. Like if you really feel like you need to exert your power with a gun, kind of thing. Like why? Why in general? But why you'd have to aim it at someone is ridiculous.
No,
Somebody was clearly driving away.
they're leaving. They're leaving. They've had no interaction with you. Like, you can't see, like, so you're miserable, you're old, you're mad, whatever. You want to live in your solitude out in rural New York. Okay. But you've taken someone's life now. You've taken someone's life now. And you can't just think, oh, well, I was scared for my life, because that's what he's using. He's using that he was afraid. Afraid of people leaving your driveway? Kevin also is, I guess, known, as kind of like a sourpuss by his neighbors. Like, even they're like, "This guy, he's something else." So, like, that just goes to show you too, like, you know, maybe he was miserable and mad or whatever, and but to try and use that you were afraid for your life, and that's why you shot at people driving off of your property, just really makes me think that people think that they can do things and get away with them. And in no way should that be happening. In no way. I don't care how old you are. I don't care what race you are. I can't, somebody rings my doorbell right now. I can't go downstairs with my gun and like say, oh, because you rang my doorbell.
Yeah, that's insane.
I can't go outside and shoot at cars that like, I live on this street and people drive, they speed down. It's like like a speed track. And I get frustrated, sure, but I'm not gonna go out there with a gun and shoot at the cars that are doing that. So I just feel like right now, like, we're in like this era of people just think that they can do whatever they want and they might get away with it. They just might get away with it. Kevin's attorney, I feel like, really tried to justify his actions and say, like, this is a tragedy or whatever. He was afraid for his life. And no,
Guilty. They were
exactly.
driving away. Those young girls were driving away. He just was so afraid.
Yeah. Yeah. So, um, like I said, unfortunately, Kaylin died from this injury, and Kevin has shown absolutely no remorse. When the police actually arrived at his home, he acted a damn fool. He didn't come out of the house. He didn't cooperate. Um, Like, he was just basically refusing to leave his property. He's like, I'm not leaving. I'm not going with you guys. While this young girl is dead. Like, come on. So he was arrested on a charge of second-degree murder, and he too has pleaded not guilty. If there are more Andrew Lesters and Kevin Monahans in the world, we are not going to justify your actions. There is no way we're going to let you get away with this. Whether that be your fear of Black people or that you're just miserable in your solitude and you think you can do something and get away with it. Um, Both families deserve justice and healing in this, and I truly, truly hope that they get it. I really do. Um, I want to close it out with, if you'd like to donate to the families of Ralph Yarl and Kaylin Gillis, I'll share the GoFundMe in the show notes. But the senseless gun violence in this country has got to stop, and the racism has got to stop as well.
Well, thank you, Kristen. I think that I've seen these in the news, but I haven't gotten to really deep dive into them, and I really appreciate you bringing more light to them.
Thank you.
Hey guys, we really, really appreciate all of our listeners, and we absolutely love doing this podcast. But we're gonna have to take a little break. We hate to say it, but life's kind of hard, I think, for both of us right now, and we're just gonna regroup a little and work on some stuff. And again, we really appreciate you guys. So we hope that you guys are understanding and you'll be here when we get back.
Yep,
And we will be back.
we will be back. Most definitely.
Thanks, everyone.